Hello, friends! The story of Anthony Mutabazi is one of the most heartwarming stories to come out of the foster care system in recent years. While he had been through so much in his short life, his outlook on life remains incredibly positive and optimistic. Every year, dozens of children enter the foster care system. While it is heartbreaking when any child is abandoned, this becomes even sadder for older children. Even if the foster care system is there to take care of these kids, they still have to go through so many traumas. That was the reality Anthony had to go through himself. Again. When the boy was 2 years old, he was lonely out of foster care until he met his new mom and dad. Anthony was just 4 when he was adopted by a family in Oklahoma. 6 years later, when Anthony was 11, he became ill for reasons that are still unclear. But unfortunately, he didn't know what fate had in store that day. His parents drove him to the local hospital where he was admitted, but they never returned to collect the son who called them mom and dad for so many years. That was the last day Anthony saw his parents. In the far east of North Carolina lived Peter Mutabazi, 37. He does not have a wife at all and isn't married by any means. Prior to his decision to foster Anthony, he'd been fostering 2 brothers close in age. Peter already had a good understanding of caring for not just another human being, but 2. During the 7 months that the first 2 brothers stayed with him, Peter provided the boys with all they needed. First, he reached out to the kids' parents, too, with whatever he could. He asked other foster parents for guidance, and most of them offered to help. As a state-certified foster parent, Peter had spent many weeks becoming qualified for the task of sharing his home with young people who needed some extra love, care, and support. However, no one has ever taught him how to say goodbye to the children he was beginning to love. He had not prepared himself for how much saying goodbye would hurt. Although he had a hard time saying it, he soon realized that moving on was a necessity. When the boys left for their new homes, Peter experienced a variety of emotions. It was saddening to know that he would never see them again, but it was reassuring for him nevertheless to think about how relieved the parents must have been to have their sons back home. A few days later, Peter got a call from his social worker asking if he could take in an 11-year-old boy for the weekend. He informed the social worker that his heart was already broken over having to send back those brothers to their birth parents. He didn't think he had any spare energy to care for another child at that moment. Out of sadness, Peter pointed out that he needed more time to think, but the social worker continued to persuade him to give it a chance. After a while of reflection, Peter agreed to let the new boy stay for only 2 nights because he was still reeling from his recent experiences with foster parenting and didn't want to get attached to any child. If the new kid stayed longer, Peter was afraid he would become attached to him and have to deal with another loss. It had been more than a half a year since he had been on fostering, so he felt like he needed at least 2 or 3 more months before trying it out again. The next morning, the social worker came to his home early with the kid. They had driven 2 hours from another county within the state. Tony's transfer to North Carolina was necessary because Oklahoma was experiencing a shortage of foster families, and older children in particular are difficult to place. Because he had already decided that he would not get emotionally attached to any more children until he was ready again, Peter never bothered to ask why this lanky, moppy-haired kid was in foster care in the first place. Still, the man told the new kid he could call him Mr. Peter, and just 20 minutes after his arrival, the kid had asked if he could call him Dad. It was too fast. Most kids in foster care want to remind you that you're not their daddy, but for some reason, this kid wanted to call him Dad, at least for a little while. Peter was caught off guard by this new child he had just met, but was quick to remind him that he would only be his host for 2 days, and he didn't have to call him Dad. On Monday morning, the social worker arrived back to Peter's house on time to pick up Anthony. The social worker understood that Peter wasn't ready for this, and after they had chatted for a while, she had asked Anthony if he was ready to go with her. The social worker explained to Peter that the boy had been given up for adoption at the age of 2 and was raised by a family which was part of an elders group in their church. This family adopted him when he was 4 years old, but when the family moved to a new town, and the boy started going to a different school. They became unhappy with him and so abandoned him at a nearby hospital. They never returned to visit or tried to communicate with him again. His parents had signed legal papers giving up their parental rights, and the social workers were able to place the child in a foster home. Peter was shocked and mad at those people for what they had done to little Anthony. When Peter learned that there were no family members to take the boy and no foster homes available, he realized Anthony would be leaving town and going straight to a group home. He wasn't going to let that happen. What Peter did next brought tears to the eyes of his social worker. He asked her to give him a letter of placement so he could start enrolling Anthony in school the next day. Out of disbelief, she kept asking if he was serious about taking the boy home for good. His tears of joy were replaced by tears of sorrow as he kept reassuring her that he would continue providing Anthony with a home, food, and love as long as he wanted him to. On November 12th of 2018, Peter was finally able to celebrate the adoption of Anthony, making his decision the greatest blessing of his life. 3 years on, he went on to foster 11 more children, and Anthony was right beside him through it all. As hard as it is to imagine, Anthony has read more than 500 books in the last 2 years. He's also made new friends at church, school, and in the foster community. They've become his surrogate family and have helped him overcome a terrible experience. Peter's new experience, on the other hand, has been anything but easy, but he went on to confirm that it has also been a great blessing for him despite it all. Since then, he has gone on to become a well-known and respected public figure. Many followers of Peter's story have learned these important lessons: how to love no matter what, how to dream big, how to care for others more, how to laugh more and not hold back. It has taught us to never say no and to always listen to our heart. And more than once, some of the best things have come from the most unexpected people and places. That's all on today's show. Amazing, right? Let us know what you think in the comment section right below. Also, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to our channel so you get immediately notified when a new video like this is out. Have a great day, and see you in the next video.